We have the one and only Murad with us today. So, Murad, for people that don't know who you are, could you introduce yourself and your crypto background?
Yeah, for sure. So, been in crypto, well, bought my first Bitcoin in 2013, was lucky to be in China, Beijing, at the right place at the right time. But it wasn't until 2016 that I kind of started taking crypto seriously. Was one of the earliest people, I think fourth or fifth ever person to kind of start doing Bitcoin on-chain analytics, kind of writing about BTC, was a Bitcoin maximalist for a very long time. Been doing a lot of obviously investing, trading, angel investing on the side. As of recently, been building in DeFi and also participating sort of in the Memecoin Supercycle on the personal side as well. And excited to kind of discuss some of these things with you guys tonight.
Amazing. So we got an OG on the spaces as well. I wasn't aware you got in that early. And you've been a vocal advocate for the Memecoin Supercycle. Before we get into that, I just wanted to mention that we're going to be doing a $500 SPX giveaway at the end of the spaces. And not only that, you'll have the chance to ask the king himself any questions that you'd like. So make sure to stay tuned all the way to the end. But can you explain what the Memecoin Supercycle is, what the concept behind it is, and why you believe meme coins are set to dominate this market cycle?
Yeah, so great question. What is a Memecoin Supercycle? First of all, let's discuss what the word supercycle means, because a lot of people get it wrong. Supercycle means essentially that a certain asset class is going to keep going and keep making new highs cycle after cycle for a very prolonged period of time, right? So essentially, it's going to be a multi-cycle phenomenon. A lot of people think that the Memecoin Supercycle is something that's new to kind of this cycle since Pepe came about in the spring of 2023. I actually believe that the Memecoin Supercycle has already been happening for the past 3 cycles. In fact, I believe that the Memecoin Supercycle began in December of 2013, and that's when Dogecoin was first invented. And if you actually look at it, it makes perfect sense. Why? Because at the 2017 peak, we had one meme coin, which was Doge. And then in 2021, we had about 3,000 meme coins with the famous dog season. That was like Shiba Inu and a bunch of others. And right now, well, we already have over 5 million meme coins, right? So clearly, every 4 years, there's kind of a geometric progression, and we're going exponential. And my theory is that meme coins are here to stay, and I actually think they're going to increasingly dominate kind of the speculative and the token side of things in crypto. This actually makes perfect sense, and I can now get into why I think the Memecoin Supercycle is happening. I'm sure a lot of people in the audience have already heard me make these arguments on various podcasts or spaces, but I'll briefly go over them. So, in summary, I think there are reasons internal to the space and there are reasons external to the space, right? Internal to the space, there are several reasons, but the biggest of which I believe is the following, right? A lot of people, they first experienced altcoins in 2017. And crucially, back then, you could buy legitimate projects such as Chainlink, Ethereum, even BNB token. You could buy all of this in 2015 and 2017, respectively, for around $30 million. That was the liquid valuation that the earliest ICO participants of all 3 projects got. I believe it was 25, 30, $33 million respectively, but it was in that range. It was what I consider to be a reasonable range, right? Now, if you look at the current situation, right? The current situation is retail people get access to decent tech projects at $20, $25 billion valuations. And we've seen this in 2023. We've seen this in 2024. I'm not going to go through exact examples, but there's over 20 examples of this. Why is this happening? Essentially, over the past 5-6 years, VCs have privatized the gains that usually used to happen in the liquid markets, right? But even besides that point, even if you ignore these dynamics, which is essentially the early liquid price of tokens have become too expensive, what's happening is the following. People are slowly realizing that when it comes to crypto, you have to analyze the software and you have to analyze the token from two distinct lenses. They're effectively two separate markets. And the real reason why people are in crypto, while most retail people are in crypto, it's for the token. It's not for the software, right? People are finally realizing that the token is the product. You can look at the tokens as essentially standalone gambling chips, as a standalone tables at the casino, right? And essentially, smart millennials and smart Zoomers on the retail side, they have realized that we actually don't need to buy these $25 billion VC coins at launch. Essentially, for a while, VCs had this sort of a quasi-monopoly on token creation, right, on token legitimacy. But the Memecoin Supercycle is turning that whole philosophy on its head, and effectively, the retail is now in control. And now, VCs and retail, they effectively are on equal grounds with no sort of old boy country club insider games, right? And I think that's actually very beautiful, and it's very much in line with the decentralization and crypto anarchy thesis that this space initially started. But these are some of the reasons internal to the space. I think even more importantly, there are reasons external to the space, right? A lot of people, and myself included, have long said that the Memecoin Supercycle is essentially a middle finger, or it's essentially a counterattack against sort of these VC tech coins, right? But in reality, I think there are also a dozen external reasons to the space that don't even have anything to do with the crypto industry that are pushing people in this direction. If you take a step outside of the crypto industry and you kind of look at what's happening in the world, inflationary pressures are running rampant. Global money supply is increasing all over the world, right? Not just on the dollar side, it's in every currency. AI is definitely going to be coming for your jobs. It's already annihilating certain jobs. Academic credentials are becoming less and less important by the day. And even getting a STEM degree or a computer science degree is no longer kind of a safe way out anymore. And so, this is pushing people towards risk assets. People are realizing that the stock market or real estate, they're probably not going to have the kinds of returns that they had over the past 40 years. And they're being pushed into crypto. Once they come to crypto, they realize that they can't really buy the $20 billion VC tech coins. They have to go further and further down the risk curve. Now, this brings you down to meme coins. And now, this is where it gets interesting because, when you come to meme coins, it's not just one market. I believe meme coins, there's actually two markets. I've been talking about this for a while, and it's very important to understand. On one hand, you have kind of call it hyper gambling, right? Fast-paced, pump fun, very sort of, let me turn 1 SOL into 20 SOL type challenge, really quick flips, and it's extremely fast-paced, high dopamine, right? On the other hand, you have more the community building side of it, the cult building side of it, as we call it. And this is more sort of higher market cap ambitions, really trying to grow community slowly but steadily. And frankly, it's the latter that I'm more interested in, although I look at both, but it's the latter that I'm personally invested in, personally interested in. But this is kind of the current state of affairs. And, it's becoming abundantly clear that the retail investor, they don't care so much about the technology. They care about the community and the token. That's really what has been driving the price all along. And frankly, I think the fact that even over the past week or two, the fact that coins like Ripple, Cardano, Hedera, Algorand, the fact that they are ripping, I think it's a partial testament to this thesis. Why? Because, I've always used them as evidence of extremely strong cult-like communities. And at the end of the day, there's blockchains that transfer money faster than Ripple, right? There's blockchains that have better smart contracting than Algorand or whatever. But at the end of the day, it's about the community, it's about the attention, it's about the energy, and these things have always mattered more than technology per se.
Amazing, Murad. Honestly, you're extremely knowledgeable on the subject, and I love your explanation on what a super cycle means, because when people say super cycle, you just think up only, no dips, but you're kind of explaining it like this sub-market of crypto is going to move upwards over the next few years, maybe even decade, but we will see pullbacks. And also you mentioned how retail is very they're more knowledgeable about what's happening and what kind of tokens and projects they want to invest in. So investing from the capital arm of DEXTools, DexForce Ventures, I could really say that the investing landscape has changed. There's no real buy pressure for these projects that are launching at billions of dollars of valuation, and people are turning to meme coins. Before we dig deeper into the Memecoin Supercycle, I want to ask, what was your first meme coin story? I mean, I remember mine was Dogecoin. I know you said you're an OG 2013, so I'm thinking it's probably the same. It was a wild ride for myself. What drew you into the world of meme coins?
My initial meme coin experience was with Dogecoin in 2017, but I just bought it, held it for 5 or 6 weeks, and sold it slightly higher. It wasn't until 2023 or even 2024 that I started kind of thinking about meme coins like from a deeper perspective. But I would say actually the meme coin where I quote unquote grew up in, or at least like realized the most, was Harry Potter Obama Sonic 10 Inu. I bought it in 2023 and just held a small bag and really quadrupled down in 2024. But it was probably Harry Potter Obama Sonic 10 Inu ticker Bitcoin, which is the meme coin where I've spent like the most amount of time like in their community, in their Telegram, in aggregate, right? And that's the one that really made me realize like what's happening here and why meme coins are taking over. But yeah, I would say like earliest example Dogecoin, but like in terms of like significant time, Harry Potter Obama Sonic 10 Inu.
Awesome. I'm glad that we both got into Doge early 2017. So you mentioned the importance of strong communities in meme coins and the success of those meme coins. Can you share some examples of meme coins with exceptional community engagement and how that drives their growth?
Yeah, so I think like the forefather of all of this is Doge, right? I mean, you could argue Litecoin and Bitcoin as well, but we're not gonna go that kind of deep. Uh, Dogecoin is the one that paved the way because they had an extremely strong community even before Elon Musk kind of jumped on the bandwagon in 2020, 2021. Like they already had that community foundation. A lot of people are saying, "Oh, it's like Elon that has like made it happen for them in 2021." But you know what they say, like uh, Elon pulled the trigger, but there was already sort of a giant tub of gunpowder by way of a very strong community there already, right? You know, I like to jokingly say that all of these coins are meme coins. um, you know Even Ripple, Cardano, they're all meme coins at the end of the day, just pretending to play serious games. Anybody who has a sufficiently high IQ understands this and understands what's going on. But at the end of the day, all of these things are just meme coins with different flavors. Some pander to suits, some pander to banks, and some pander to more sort of these crazy retail guys. But at the end of the day, it's just a token. It's just a token with a group of people around it, and that's really what matters. In terms of this cycle specifically, I can point out to coins like Giga, Harry Potter Obama Sonic 10 Inu, Mog, which I should congratulate on getting on Coinbase today, SPX 6900, Popcat. With I think these are examples of very strong communities that I think are going to go the distance. This is what we need to understand, right? Every week or two, there's some kind of a new meta, there's some kind of a new pump, but all of these coins, they've survived for like a year and a half now, a lot of these already, right? And in that year and a half, anybody who's paid attention, there's been so many coins that were hyped aggressively that have kind of that came and went, right? But at the end of the day, you need to ask yourself, who is going to go the distance, right? It's a marathon, not a sprint. There's always going to be pumps and dumps, even large pumps and dumps, like every couple of weeks. But at the end of the day, who's going to be standing here continuously making higher highs and higher lows a year from now, right? Call it November 2025. Who's still going to stand here strong? And at the end of the day, you need to realize that before you can make money, you need to make sure that like you survive first. And this is kind of like the big reason why my focus is on these like cult-like communities, which is essentially just super, super strong communities. Why? Because you need to build a very, very strong foundation first before you can go viral. That's the way I think about it.
Awesome. As I mentioned, you're extremely knowledgeable, and I love hearing you talk about meme coins and the foundation on why they're so successful. By the way, if you haven't checked out Murad's keynote speech in Singapore on Token 2049, make sure to check out his profile. He does an awesome job of drilling down the Memecoin Supercycle. So I have to ask, as you mentioned a few of the tokens that you saw do extremely well. Are you still in the trenches, Murad? Or are you happy with your core holdings? Like, do you see more PVE opportunities, like PVE meme coins, as you've stated, presenting themselves or spawning?
Yeah, so I observe the trenches carefully. I look at the stats. I look at what's going on. I look at the flavors of the week, flavors of the day. But personally, I don't really participate in the trenches anymore. One of the coins I'm in, SPX 6900, has a motto called "Stop trading and believe in something," and I genuinely like try to live kind of by that motto, where essentially it's a mathematical fact that 97% of people lose money in the trenches. It's just a fact. Like you can see this on chain. And then there you have another 2% that make a negligible amount. And then it's only like 0.3% of people that make over 10K, right? Uh, for me, like I said, I'm less interested in gambling. I'm more interested in community building. So I am happy with my current portfolio. And because most of my portfolio are communities that I know for a fact are very, very strong. Communities that are kind of very active on social media, expanding from Twitter to TikTok, YouTube, Reddit, and they're just going very hard, all gas, no brakes every day, right? That's what you want to see. For me, like, it's just gambling is just not worth the sort of time, liquidity, upside triangle anymore, right? That being said, the earliest trends, they always occur in the trenches. So you can never be jaded. You can never be like, oh, like I'm too cool for this, or I don't have time for this. Yet you still have to observe the trenches to see what like the cutting edge of culture or the cutting edge of new coins, like what's happening. Like you always need to keep the pulse. So I keep my eye on it. I don't personally like that's not where most of my money or time is, but I keep my eye on it.
Just had to ask you. And when you put it that way, I mean, 99% of people lose their money. Most don't make it out of the trenches, but, you know, they have big dreams, and seeing those P&Ls on Twitter and Telegram, it really lures people into the thought that anybody and everybody is making it out of the trenches with millions of dollars for meme coins. So for newcomers that are coming in, can you give them some advice? How should traders approach investing into meme coins, and what are some of the risks or challenges you see with I guess the idea of getting rich off memes?
Yeah, so a lot of people are going to disagree with me, but I am going to say the following, right? A lot of people think of only the upside, but they don't think about the downside, and they don't think about survival. And this is very important because, there's like tens of thousands of coins come out every day. I believe it's actually 45,000 per day right now. And, very few coins have actually stood the test of time. So, you know, the answer to this question obviously changes every month as we get closer and closer, like into the cycle, right? I believe we still have somewhere around a year left, maybe 7 months, maybe 14 months, but call it 1 year, right? And I think right now you essentially have two choices. You can go like deep into the trenches and try to make it on pump fun or new launches. And let's say, objectively speaking, your probability of making it is like, call it 2%. You're going to make, let's say, 2%, you're going to make 200x, right? Let's call it that way, just for the sake of example. On the other end, you have sort of the cults. And I think there you have, call it 35% chance, in my opinion, of making, call it a 50x or a 40x or whatever, right? And I think if you run the math, the proposition is much better on the latter. because, you know, it's much better. And a lot of people are like, oh, I only have $1,000 to my name, right? And I respond to them, okay, like it's still better for you to turn your 1,000 into 50,000 by the end of the cycle in 1 year from now, rather than just to gamble it all away. And this is, frankly, at the risk of sounding crude, why I believe poor people oftentimes end up poorer and rich people end up being richer, because A, the latter understand that the good things take time, and also they understand the importance of critical mass, and they understand the importance of survival. You have to survive before you thrive, right? And so if you are not somebody with like 3 screens staring at the trenches with like the best software, best timing, nodes, RPCs, etc., you're better off just buying and holding cults, even right now, because I still think the best gains are to come in year 4. And I think we're about to end year 3 and enter year 4 of the 4-year cycle. Now, you know, you have to do this math for yourself. The statistics show that 97% of people are going to lose money in the trenches. So you have to be very careful. And, you know, it's better to make like 40x with a higher probability rather than just to risk it for 1,000x, but to lose it all in the end, right? And a lot of people don't understand this. They like the problem, like the reason why people lose money is ego and impatience. They want to make 100x in 3 days, but like what are the actual probabilities of that happening? I don't think they're very high. And you know, I think you also need to understand where this is going. The amount of meme coins that are going to get created per day is going to keep increasing. It used to be 10,000 per day a few months ago. Now it's 50,000, and next year is going to be 1,000,000 coins per day, right? So what are the odds you're going to pick the runner of the day? It's going to get lower and lower. At the same time, you know, the most important concept for you guys to understand is something called critical mass.
This space was downloaded via spacesdown.com. Visit to download your spaces today.
What does that mean? Critical mass, well, we can argue what critical mass is, but for the sake of example, let's call it $1 billion market cap and 100,000 holders, right? And I think that the coins that reach that point, or maybe it's at 500 million, who knows, right? But regardless, the coins that reach that critical mass, they're probably going to go to like 5-10 billion and higher, right? But the 99.999% of the coins that are not going to reach critical mass, they're just going to die, right? They're just going to bleed into insignificance. And this is why critical mass is so important, because like if you reach that critical mass, you will probably kind of like end up going viral, end up going from 100,000 holders to 500,000 holders by the end of the cycle, and you end up getting these flywheels of growth, right? Flywheels of constant attention. But if you don't build that critical mass of community and market cap, it's going to be a very uphill battle. And unfortunately, this is probably going to be the biggest tragedy of the cycle. There's going to be a bunch of retail that actually do believe in the Memecoin Supercycle, but they're not going to make any money because they're going to end up holding the wrong coins. And they're just going to be stuck in the wrong coins. And so I think right now we're at this juncture where people are realizing that not all coins are going to make it. Even not all cults are going to make it. And I think you're going to gradually see this consolidation into these like maybe 15 to 20 winners. And I've been preaching this for 7 months already. I'm going to keep preaching this for a while. You have to join strength. You have to join strong communities, because these people, they're going to protect you, because even when you're asleep, they're going to be hustling for your bags. So critical mass is very important. You have to think about this from a game theory perspective, right?
Totally agree with you there, Murad, especially with patience. You know, if you look at Pepe when it launched in 2023, a lot of people took gains off the table after hitting, 50x, 100x, but meme coins and generally coins that are doing great don't hit all-time highs in the first day, in the first week, or even month. They continue to run up, especially if they have that critical mass, as you mentioned, that conviction. And there's no better marketers than people that are in the money, that are in the community, and you have that cult-like community, as you mentioned. So I'm curious, Murad, what are you cooking up? Can you tell us a little bit about STFX and what you're working on?
Yes. Thank you for that question. STFX is a DeFi project that I've been contributing to since 2022. It's a project which lets you tokenized trading ideas, and also turn your own sort of performance into volts. And you can essentially consider it as copy trading on steroids, and everything is absolutely on chain and decentralized. And recently we made the decision to move from STFX to Arbitrum. We made a decision to move from STFX from Arbitrum to Solana to create infrastructure to operate alongside this meme coin meta that's happening right now, right? And we have just finished our closed beta just a couple of hours ago, and we just launched our public open beta for anyone to take a look at the DApp. So please give it a shot and provide any feedback that you may have. We also have some prizes for the best performers during this beta, just to add a little bit of fun and competitiveness into the mix. And essentially, STFX has taken the traditional copy trading format and built that into more of a versatile and user-controlled experience. And when the Solana DApp is fully complete, users will not only be able to copy trade users on the platform that are building up their kind of on-chain STFX reputation, but will also be able to copy trade any address on-chain that they wish. So a lot of people have built custom tools that let you do this. We're essentially open sourcing that for the world, for anybody to be able to copy trade any person or any address on-chain. And we'll probably end up seeing people digging through the blockchain, digging through DEXTools, buys and sells, users, and anybody will be able to essentially instantly copy trade or subscribe to any address on chain. And there's a lot more than I can talk about, but this is kind of a good overview for people for the open beta to come take a look and to kind of get a feel for themselves.
Wow, sounds amazing. And I love that you guys migrated to Solana. That's where the liquidity is. That's where all the new traders are, in the trenches, to say the least. And copy trading, amazing. Maybe we could copy trade your wallet, Murad. That would be awesome. And we could perform as well as you have this cycle. So, and you mentioned DEXTools. So I have to ask, what do platforms like DEXTools play in helping traders navigate this space and identify potential winners?
Yeah, great question. So I think there's a lot of filters that you can use to identify these kind of strong communities. The game is changing day by day, but I can personally give you an overview of the kind of filters that I used when I was initially kind of looking for my picks. So first things first, I like to, unlike many other people, I don't buy new launches. I actually like things that have already existed for at least 3, 4, 5, 6 months and are currently on a dip, right? And you want to see a divergence where the price has gone down, but the community is growing and still vibing. And you can still see a lot of activity on Twitter, on Telegram, and elsewhere, right? Second thing, you want the community to have survived multiple pullbacks. Call it 65%, 70% pullbacks. 2, 3, the more the better. But it's important that it's not just a pullback that's happening once right now. It's a pullback that they've already proven that they can recover from in the past. That means that usually is a signal that there is a core community that's like not giving up, even when the price is not performing. They're not giving up. They're continuing to hustle, right? Obviously, you want to look at things like minimal transactions, minimal liquidity, minimal volume, because below certain thresholds, if you join something that's completely dead without even a modicum of activity, it's probably going to be an uphill battle for you, right? But ultimately, you want to be looking for these divergences when price is down, but attention is up, or price is down, but the holder growth is up. Price is down, but number of mentions or Twitter is up. And these are the kinds of filters that you want to be using to be identifying some of these altcoin communities in the early stages. I will say that, in my experience, it takes at least like 6 to 8 months for something to be deserving of being called a cult, even in the context of this current cycle, at least relative to other meme coins, right? So this is why I don't like it when people call like coins that are 3 days old cults, because that's just not serious. You essentially need time for these strong communities to emerge. And you need to think of it as kind of like a plane taking off. It needs a certain amount of distance on the landing strip to be able to take off, right? And as we get closer and closer to, I think, Q4 of 2025, there's going to be fewer and fewer cults standing the test of time. So, you really want to be jumping on the bandwagon for the right ones. That's kind of the way I think about it right now.
Awesome. And as we move into the new year, are there any specific market or macroeconomic conditions that make this an ideal time for the Memecoin supercycle? Or is it more about culture and community-driven trends? What's your opinion on that, Murad?
I've been saying for a while that crypto is reaching a point where macro is increasingly important for crypto prices, right? My actual theory, as I've alluded to earlier, is that it's essentially macro conditions that are giving birth to the Memecoin supercycle, right? Because there's so much money in the system, it needs to go somewhere. And the rate of money supply expansion and inflation has been accelerating since COVID. And I think, the next 10, 12 years, I think are going to continue being inflationary. And I think this is going to bring more and more people into memes because at the end of the day, this is the way you have to think about it, right? Your grandpa in the Western world, or frankly, anywhere in the world, in the 1950s, he could work a minimum wage job, but somehow he would have 3 or 4 kids, they would go to college, he would have a wife, a house, and somehow he would be able to pay for all this, right? Goes without saying that society, finance, economics, culture, all of these have changed where now this sounds like a pipe dream, right? Let's be real. All right, I don't mean to sound elitist, but if you're not going to be at least if you're not going to have at least a certain amount of money, it's going to be very difficult for you to achieve these things, achieve these basic sort of human needs, right? And I think people are feeling this, whether it's consciously or unconsciously, and all of these phenomena, they're pushing people to these kind of new niche, weird, some would say, asset classes like meme coins, which offer obviously more upside and more downside. And I think because of these things, the Memecoin supercycle is happening. So does the macro affect this? Without a doubt. And I think, next year we'll have to pay close attention to macro because as Bitcoin, BTC is maturing, it's going to be moving in lockstep with traditional finance liquidity. And I think meme coins, on long time frames, they're probably like a 3 to 6x beta to BTC and the crypto world at large. So, they're probably going to be moving in lockstep together with global liquidity.
Awesome. I really love your takes on the whole Memecoin supercycle and the whole foundation of it. You're extremely knowledgeable, Murad, and it's been honestly our pleasure to have you here. Before we wrap up, I just want to let everybody listening, first of all, thank you guys for coming. Appreciate taking your time out and joining our spaces. We have a banger space every week, but I think this has been the largest one, and I'm not sure if we're going to be able to top this anytime soon. Before we wrap up, are there any key takeaways, insights, messages, or anything that you want to leave the audience about the Memecoin supercycle or even the broader crypto space, Murad?
Yeah. So I would say community is the most important factor. So make sure you're joining communities that are extremely strong. Develop a set of metrics to measure like community energy, average community passion, community growth. These are all very important. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter actually. So this is my core theory, right? It doesn't matter if it's an altcoin or a meme coin. They're the same thing. What matters is like the people around it and how hard they're hustling. And so it's all about the people in the end. And you need to be a good judge of people, a good judge of the average person in the community, the whales in the community, who's doing what. These are the kind of things you want to be paying attention to. More macro, I would say, anybody who's made any money in crypto, if you've studied the past 3 or 4 cycles, they've been people that not active traded, but people who've bought something and held for a year, right? For every like centralized exchange leaderboard trader that you see, there's 100 people that have made money simply through holding. right? And in the past cycles, it was altcoins. I think this cycle is going to be meme coins. So buy and hold wins. And so if you agree with me that buy and hold wins, then the only question to decide is what are you holding, right? And then essentially asset selection becomes the most important thing. So you have to ask yourself what's going to not only grow the most between now and December 2025, but what's also going to like survive with the highest chances. And I think these are the questions that you need to be answering.
Amazing, Murad. Thank you very much. And if you have a few minutes, we brought a few speakers on to ask you some questions. So can we start with Ben, please? The stage is yours, Ben.
Hello, can you hear me well?
Perfect, loud and clear.
Yeah. Hi guys. Hi Murad. First off, I love your like insights and your analysis is always on point, especially in the meme coin. And then so my question is, since you've mentioned SPX 6900 like bridging to Solana, so did you say it's in beta? So how can we like join it? So for example, for especially for us on the trenches who would like to like join in a cult like community.
So when I was talking about bridging to Solana, I was actually talking about STFX, which is the DeFi copy trading platform that I'm working on. And in order for you to join, you should go to beta.stfx.io and you will see more information, more instructions there. We're currently looking for beta testers. Again, beta.stfx.io, and all of the information is going to be there. So STFX has recently moved from Arbitrum to Solana, both the app itself and also the token as well. Now we are on Solana because it simply makes sense, because this is where 99% of the meme coins are right now.
Mr. Eddie, you're up next.
Yeah, thank you. Just want to say massive thank you guys for this spaces. Thank you for organizing. Just a quick question to Murad, please. What's your target for Bitcoin this cycle and the total market cap, please?
My target for BTC is in the realms of 200,000. I would say $200,000. Could be slightly less, could be slightly more, but I think 200K is a good benchmark.
Okay, cool. Thank you. And for the total market cap, please?
I would say 7 to 10 trillion.
Nice one. Thanks, guys. Appreciate that.
Thank you, Eddie. Degen, Mr. Meme Millionaire, you're up next. Degen,
Okay.
the stage. Yeah, we can hear you loud and clear.
I just wanted to thank you for bringing me on, and I was going to second Murad's mention about finding a community and joining it after it's had its pullbacks numerous times. You see the early investors shake out the whales that got in early by luck, and it creates a solid foundation. And there was a new movement going around that I was informed of late, which I love the philosophy, because like he said, 97% of these are coins you're going to lose money on, and you make more by looking for a smaller gain over a longer period of time.
Yes, totally agree. A lot of people, they want 1,000x in 1 week, and that's why they lose money by taking too much risk. But I think it's much better to aim for like, call it 50 to 100x over a year, which is much more realistic. And I actually think a bunch of meme coins are going to do that in the coming year.
You off there. Thanks for the question statement. We have 2 more questions. The boy, Mr. Trencher, you're up on stage.
Hey. Thank you, Mr. Morad. Thank you, everyone. So I have one question about the meta. So I've done pretty good during the range, and I'm supporting many of the Morad coins. We kind of agreed on many calls during basically before Bitcoin broke the range. While after November 5th, I'm finding like more difficult like to hold my coins, also if I'm holding 100%, of course. And there has been a lot of new launches, say Peanut, Mudeng, and all the AI meta. So my question to Murad is, how do you see this to evolve in the next few months? What are the possible scenarios? So will there be continuously new metas that will move liquidity, or so yeah, in other words, is there a risk for the cult coins to like not be bought by retails because they might be chasing new metas even if they would not be a great investment strategy?
Yeah, so good question. This is what I think is going to happen. I think there's going to be new metas every 2 or 3 weeks. There's going to be new coins. There's going to be new coins that do well. There's going to be a lot of coins that do bad. And I think what's going to happen is, even though there's going to be a ton of new stuff, I think the best cult coins, they're going to slowly continue making higher lows, higher highs. Why do I think that? Because I think that if you look at statistics, 97% of people lose money gambling on new launches, which means that eventually, after losing their money 2 or 3 times, I think they're eventually going to join one of the cults or a couple of the cults, because they'll realize eventually that instead of me losing paycheck after paycheck or just money after money, let me join one of these cults. Okay, I'm not going to make it 1000x, but let me aim for a 70x over the next year by just buying and holding. And I think this is essentially trial by fire, and a lot of people are going to go through something like this over the coming year. But ultimately, I think you're going to see consolidation into these strongest communities. And this is why I talk about critical mass. I think the ones that reach a critical mass, they're going to, like, call it 1 billion, right? Those that reach 1 billion and stay above 1 billion and have 1 billion as support, they're probably going to go to 7, 8, 10, 20 billion, right? That's what I think is going to happen. But the ones that don't, they're just going to keep bleeding down, right? So this is why critical mass is very important. And I think the cults that do reach critical mass are going to keep growing. Why? Because I think at the end of the day, there's a large market for a group of people that don't want to gamble. They want to buy and hold. Even XRP people, they're not traders, they're buy and hold people, right? So there's a big market for this, I think, out there in the world. And most people, I think, actually want to buy and hold rather than be this like degenerate, high dopamine chaser, zoomer, gambler. And the people that want to buy and hold, I think a lot of them are going to end up in these cults.
That was a really great question and a great answer, I have to say. And I do agree with you. I have some friends in 2017 who bought XRP and they're still holding, and I don't think they'll ever sell it, honestly. Thank you, guys. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Murad, honestly, it's been a pleasure to have you here. We're looking forward to everything you're shipping, building, and honestly, everybody who showed up, thank you guys for the support. If you have any last words, you could share with the DEXTools and, of course, your community as well. We are going to put this on YouTube, so if you missed it, you could watch it either on X or check out the DEXTools YouTube. Thanks, everybody, for coming, and thank you, Morad.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for having me.